Hey, this is Matt once again. Welcome back to another video. And this is a paid request for Al. Thank you so much for that. For those interested in requesting any type of videos, feel free to send it either directly to my PayPal. Do have a Cash App as well. Links are down below in the info box. I'll get to them as soon as I possibly can. So thank you. And this is for Plan 9 from Outer Space, the 1957 film, considered to be one of the worst films of all time. Now, technically, sure, although this is a bad film to be fair, but there's enough goofy, stupid entertainment. I do think even though it's an hour and 18 minutes, it does get boring by the middle onward. So again, like, technically it is, but at the same time, I could think of 100 movies worse than this in terms of just gun to my head. If I have to rewatch, I'm like, well, at least this is short. At least there is quite a few laughable, stupid things about it because of how badly it's done. And because of the time it was made in the 50s and the black and white photography and seeing Bela Lugosi one last time, which I'm a fan of Bela Lugosi. Even though the shit has nothing to do with the rest of the movie, or at least not really, but I mean, there's a whole. I mean, the film itself has such a history behind it that, in a way, it's almost watchable just for that. And that's sad. Is that Ed Wood was considered the worst director of all time, and technically, yeah, but in a weird way, you could probably find a shitload of directors nowadays that you would consider worse than Ed Wood. They either make more boring films or more shitty films or more. I mean, like, this is more watchable than those Alexander Nevsky films that I've seen, or a lot of Uwe Boll's films, among other stuff. But I mean, Ed Wood was a guy, which I always think of the Tim Burton film Ed Wood. I don't know how much of that was fictionalized to be more entertaining as a movie. But I love Ed Wood with Tim Burton. It's one of my favorite Tim Burton films. One of my favorite Johnny Depp films. I think Martin Landau did a wonderful job as Bela Lugosi in that. Ed Wood, I think, is a very solid flick. And Ed Wood as the guy, the person, I didn't really watch his films growing up. I mean, I knew of them. I'd heard about their infamous nature, of how horrible they are. And there's films like Glen or Glenda, which was a big reference in that Seed of Chucky movie. Bride of the Monster, this one. This one considered kind of his magnum opus of shit. But again, I know he liked to wear women's clothing. It was part of the story for Glen or Glenda. He was never taken seriously because he wasn't good. And you tell just from this film alone how awful he was. But he definitely, I guess, not the way he wanted, but he did make a name for himself. Ed Wood did become a name that people remember for different reasons that he wanted, but I guess if you can't be the best, if you be one of the worst, you'll be remembered as well. So there you go. I mean, like Uwe Boll. He did a lot of horrible films, but yet we remember his name. There's a lot of other directors that made some shit that, like, I don't remember. I mean, I can't remember the damn movies, let alone the directors who made them. So there you go. But I mean, if you just concentrate on this film itself, from the weird opening and closing with this guy named Criswell, future events such as these will affect you in the future. And it's like, no shit. Thank you, Mr. Sherlock Holmes, you solved the case. To him saying, welcome to Grave Robbers from Outer Space, but that's not the title. Because then a bit later, the Plan 9 from Outer Space pops up. That's because it was originally going to be called Grave Robbers from Outer Space, but apparently they didn't tell Criswell, or it was too late to reshoot that. So he says the wrong title. Or it was the right title at the time, but they changed it. So it makes it seem like, oh, he knows the future. Apparently he didn't know that future. He wants to tell me he knows. I guess he didn't know the name change, the future of that. So fuck you, Criswell. Actually, I don't know. I don't know him personally. Never. Sadly, he was played by Jeffrey Jones in the Ed Wood movie, and fuck Jeffrey Jones. Is a PDF file, as we call it. He's a sicko who likes the kids too much. He's fuck Jeffrey Jones. Anyway. Bela Lugosi, in a way, this became his last film, in a way. And I hear different stories. Obviously, the way it's played off in Ed Wood, the Tim Burton film, is that those two became friends. Now, some would say Ed Wood was using him because Bela was not in his right mind, was not in his right focus because he had a big drug problem. And so maybe this is a guy that took advantage of that and said, well, I could get this guy, at least get some name value for my film. And then others say, no, they really did become friends because Ed was such a big fan of his. And it is dependent, I guess, on who you ask. Because I don't think Bela Lugosi's son was a fan at all of Ed. Because I think at one point there was some interview or something, and he called Ed Wood like a loser and an abuser. So I'd like to know more details about that. At least the Bela Jr.'s son's point of view. Or Bela Jr.'s point of view, I should say. But from what I understand, Ed Wood had shot random scenes with Bela. So random scenes of him at a grave. Or him with his Dracula cloak doing this. Or him outside of a house picking a flower up. And then dropping it. And then walking away. Now, I think that might have been for a film they might do. Grave of the Vampire or something. Which I guess he would not have played it because all this shot was during the daytime. And vampires are not really known for being out during the day unless you're the daywalker. Maybe Bela Lugosi would have been the first daywalker. Who knows? But obviously he passed away. And he didn't want to get rid of this footage, so he put it in here. With a lot of narration. A lot of narration to just try to tell you what's happening. Because he's so terrible at filmmaking, he can't really get that much with the film itself. Because you're sitting there going, okay, they stand over a grave, or he's outside picking a flower. Like, what the hell does this have to do with the plot? Well, what happens is, to try to explain this film, you have these two pilots, and it's such a great plane that there's this shower curtain pretty much to get to the back. I've never seen a plane look like this, but yeah, it's a set that I've seen school plays look better. And then a flying saucer comes by, which looks like a flying hubcap, or paper plates. From what I understand, they were like bottles that they got, like they put these cheap bottles together, but they do look like hubcaps. Now, depending on which version you see, you may be able to see the boom mic when the light of the UFO passes by the pilots. I guess depending on how you see the film, if you see it in a certain frame, you see the boom light, the boom mic right up here. But in some versions, they kind of shorten that. And then a lot of the film takes place at this one cemetery. I say cemetery because the sticks, the graves, they look like they were made out of Play-Doh or Whatever the hell. And it's one of those things I'm watching. I'm going. It looks. I mean, of course, everything in the movie looks cheap because it's Ed Wood. Everything about Ed Wood was cheap. Everything about Ed Wood was. And again, I don't know if this is the case because I keep thinking of the movie based on him, where something bad would happen, like say a tombstone would fall. Wait, that's supposed to be a tombstone. That fell like it was made out of paper or cardboard. And then Edward would go, oh, no one will notice. No one's going to notice. I don't know if that's how he was in real life, where he said no one's going to notice. But I could believe it by the way some of the shit's done. Because there are times where it's daytime one moment, the people who are just filling in this grave, they come back and where they're at is day. But then Vampira, Vampira, not Vampires, that's a different movie. Vampira, which she was kind of Elvira. She was Elvira before Elvira. Vampira comes out and it's nighttime. So they're looked into the daytime, but then here is nighttime. Daytime, nighttime. Daytime, and they're looked at nighttime. And Ed did give a fuck about continuity or anything. Didn't really care about acting because the acting isn't good at all. Vampira attacks, but she just kind of does this, then cuts away. You hear scream. You couldn't even film her kind of a fight scene attacking anything because it's too cheap. They don't cut to Bela Lugosi that apparently Vampira was his wife who died, and then the way the narration, I don't know if who did the narration, if Ed himself did the narration or who it was, but the narration goes about the sky that she looked at is now only a covering for her dead body. What the fuck? Who the fuck writes like that? But Ed Wood did. He thought that was a good line. The sky that she liked, it's now a covering for her dead body. And it's one of those things I'm watching going, like, this stuff is kind of hilarious, to be fair. This stuff is kind of hilarious. Just to see how bad it's done. Like, the Bela Lugosi footage is him walking off. And then you hear, like, a screech of a car as he walks off. You're... And then we're led to believe that, oh, he died from that. Because obviously they didn't shoot it. That's not what the footage was for. It was for something else. So, yeah, he just died off screen. And then they're at the gravesite of Bela Lugosi's character. One of the head cops is Tor Johnson, who is a Swedish professional wrestler, which I know in the Tim Burton film was George the Animal Steel. And you can tell, like, he could barely comprehend the dialogue. Like, he's trying to talk and he stumbles over words, but he keeps going. And you can tell that you can't understand him too well. He doesn't flow with the dialogue well. Like, at times he stops and stumbles, but then, again, they keep filming. And eventually, two ghouls, Vampira and Bela Lugosi, which was, I think, Ed Wood's chiropractor. And anytime he's on screen, he's this. Granted, even this does not look like Bela Lugosi at all. Yeah, you talk about the height and all that, but even this, I still don't think he looks at all like Bela Lugosi. Like, you can tell it's not him. But apparently this is all he had to do, and oh, I'm Bela Lugosi. That's what he's got to do this the whole time. And Tor Johnson is kind of... Now, I know in the Tim Burton film, they film a bit where they do this, and Tor's like, ah. Or it's Jordan Animal Steel. No, apparently that wasn't even in the movie. Here it's does this, it cuts away, and then you just assume he got killed. And then some other cops find the dead body of that guy, Tor Johnson. And this one cop who's like in a trench coat, he has his gun. I don't know. Okay, imagine this is a gun. But he has a gun and then he's kind of doing this. And then kind of like has the gun like this. But it looks like it's under his chin. So he has the gun like this. He's kind of just throwing the gun around and his gun's like this. I'm like, I hope your finger's not like Alec Baldwin's finger, or this is going to be a different story. Don't be like Alec Baldwin's finger, because it won't miss. But he's kind of doing this, and then the line he says is, he's dead, murdered, and someone is responsible. You sure? You sure he wasn't murdered by a golf club? Maybe he was murdered by a squirrel. You sure that someone was responsible? Usually with murder, that means someone's responsible. It's like, no shit. Why, like, no shit Sherlock Holmes dialogue? Then the UFOs start popping everywhere, and you tell they're just hovering. Kind of just hovering. They can't do anything. These hubcaps. And like this actor, he's like a military guy, but you tell he's just in front of a wall. They're cut to stock footage of tanks firing. Then like they couldn't even film it outside. He's like in front of like a fucking wall. The idea is it's supposed to be outside. And then there's like a scene where Tor Johnson is he's now a ghoul, trying to get out of the grave, but he can't get out of the fucking grave. So they have to cut away. Now you may be wondering, well, this seems fucking random. What's the plot of the movie? Well, it's Ed Wood, that's why he's random. So these aliens are here, because apparently they don't like how humanity is advancing with weapons. And they think that one day is going to have this, with the way it's going, one day they're going to create this power, this solar weapon thing that's going to destroy the sun. And wherever the sun... The way he put it was, imagine the rays of the sun like gasoline. So wherever the ray of the sun hits, this force will go over and destroy those planets, and it'll destroy the universe. Okay, guy. And number one, how the hell do you know this power exists? Did you create this power? Did you folks create this power? If so, if you did, either you've used it before or you decided not to use it. So how the fuck do you even know this exists? And if you're able to not use it, maybe we'd be able to not use it. But it's like, no, we're going to give you a warning. So you won't... I guess the idea is that you won't communicate with us. Which, hell, they don't know you're communicating. They don't know you're communicating at first, dickhead. Then it's like, well, we're going to use Plan 9, which we're going to bring people back from the dead, although... It's only this one cemetery and 3 whole ghouls. Because apparently if 3 ghouls, that automatically will, I don't know, make things better. Or for humanity. Like, these 3 ghouls will steer everybody and everything into listen to us. And I'm like, are you trying to be like the day the earth stood still, Ed Wood? Aliens warning humanity about war. I mean, I don't know if this is the way to do it. I mean, this seems a bit counterproductive and shit. Just saying. I don't think 3 ghouls are going to get your message across. At least not in a way that people don't fucking know. I will admit, when it got to about the middle of the film, it did get pretty tedious. It did get pretty boring. Ed Wood's chiropractor goes to a woman's home. She escapes. She faints. They find her. The aliens ramble on about what their plan is and what they want to do, and none of it is worth a shit. None of it makes a lick of goddamn sense. Then, like, Tor Johnson's there and almost attacks one of the aliens, and he gets afraid. And they have these electro guns that apparently you have to go right behind them and touch the ghouls to control them. And it's like, you know what, we'll keep Tor Johnson, but get rid of Edward's chiropractor. I don't even remember the reason. Oh, because he's an old man, so we don't need him. But then at one point, he's attacking a cop who's backing up with other people, and the other people are just standing there. You could run, you could kick, you could throw, you could give middle fingers, but no, you just stand there. And then, thankfully, the alien's ray knows where it's at, shoots out, and turns the chiropractor into a pristine-looking skeleton. Does it look up the cloak? Is that okay? And apparently the aliens want to get enough zombies, enough ghouls to send to the capital. Everywhere. All the capitals in all the world. Eventually, Tor Johnson, there's a bit where a cop is a bit frayed, and Tor Johnson just does this, whew, that does, which does look funny. He grabs the girl. The few hero characters go into the spaceship. There's arguing about what's going on, why are you doing this. Aliens explain about that weapon I was trying to explain that eventually you'll create. You stupid minds, you stupid minds, you stupid. That's what his acting is fuck. And then at the end of the day, the lead guy has a bit of a fight with one of the aliens. Some ship blows up, they escape. The hubcap is on fire, floating wherever, and explodes, and that turns the ghouls into skeletons themselves, and it's a pretty bad fucking movie. Like, it has a 3.9. It deserves it. I'm not going to defend this film. I mean, a bad film. Okay, Silent Night, Deadly Night 2, and Samurai Cop. I could watch them and enjoy them throughout, laughing. And even then, it's okay. There's action and shooting. It's not good, but it's still people action film. They're shooting at each other. Or Silent Night, Deadly Night 2, like Eric Freeman's performance throughout makes it that much fun. And here, like I said, even though it's an hour and 18 to an hour and 19 minutes, it got tedious by the middle, and I'm kind of just waiting for it to end. It's one of those that you could maybe enjoy in spurts, like a montage, a clip show, but it even feels long. I'm looking up info on the film. Criswell was the star of the KLAC Channel 13 TV series Criswell Predicts. Based on the style of a charismatic preacher influenced by early televangelists. Yeah, I remember also there was a bit weird thing where out of the blue, Criswell starts yapping about, let us punish the guilty, let us reward the innocent. I'm like, you off your meds, dude? Yeah, then it ends with Criswell. You have seen this incident based on sworn testimony. Can you prove it didn't happen? Many scientists believe that another world is watching us this moment. God help us in the future. Yeah, the flying saucers were a plastic bottle kit issued in 1952 by toy manufacturer Paul Lindbergh's Limberline Model Kit Company. Harry Thomas, the film's makeup man, was incensed when Wood refused to follow his suggestions for the aliens' appearance. He created some rubber chin appliances to elongate their faces, cat's eyes contact lenses, and green wigs to lend them a more unearthly appearance. But Wood told him they did not have enough time. Vampira was paid $200 to act as a vampire in the film. She insisted her part be silent as she did not like the dialogue Ed Wood had written for her. Although all of them are mutant and none of them talk. Yeah, Ed Wood shot a half-realized project, The Vampire's Tomb and The Ghoul Goes West. I thought there was another title as well. These shots were improvised. Ed Wood first planned to make Bela Lugosi the grandfather of Paula Trent, the film's lead vampire, the lead female character, with Vampira being the revived corpse of Paula's grandmother, which explains why Lugosi returns to Paula's house after death, enters her bedroom, follows her into the cemetery, and winds up skeletonized on her patio. At the beginning of the film, Lugosi picks a rose from a bush in the front yard of the house where the Trents live. Tor Johnson's house in real life. But then decided to reduce Lugosi's character's importance. Apparently there's a documentary called Flying Saucers Over Hollywood, the Plan 9 Companion. There's a 2009 short film Plan 9.1 from Outer Space, which features hand-carved wooden puppets of the characters from the film. There was an additional proposed remake in 2009, Grave Robbers from Outer Space. Another remake was released by Darkstone Entertainment. The teaser trailer was released 2009. Is released on physical media for retail outlets on January 5th, 2017. You know what? I would bet that's worse than this, because this one at least is done. It wasn't done on purpose. Like, it's just the guy was so horrible at directing. So because it wasn't done on purpose, it still has a bit of that innocent charm to it. I mean, it's definitely a cult classic. A lot of people like it for how bad it is. It definitely got referenced in a lot of stuff. X-Files, Hollywood AD, Fox Mulder apparently watched the film over 42 times. Of course, Ed Wood, great movie. Sadly, that film bombed, which I don't understand why it bombed so damn badly. I guess maybe the public didn't know who the fuck Ed Wood was, just people were into cult films. But the public may be like, who the fuck is Ed Wood? Which he passed away in 1978. So, yeah, I've just looked up some info on that. Like I said, it's a film that, at the end of the day, it's going to be known more for its history, in terms of its cult status, being named one of the worst films of all time. Does it deserve that mantle? It does. It is a badly made film, but at the same time, like I said, maybe because of its history, maybe because of the time it was made. Idea there's a charm to his badness that I do think it overstays its welcome by the midway point. Even watching on that front. Am I glad I finally saw it all the way through and reviewed it now? Sure, because it's such a infamous title. But it didn't get me mad or anything, because again, I knew about it, and even the bad acting in this movie, I hate to say it, I've seen much, much worse in films years onwards. And it's only an hour and 18 minutes. And it still has those moments that did make you laugh and make you chuckle. So there's still a charm to it. It's not trying to do it on purpose, where sometimes it was a bit more aggravating, sometimes it was a bit more annoying. And in a way, sometimes more embarrassing. Like, we're doing it on purposely bad. It's like, yeah, we did it. And it's less funny. But Edward was a guy that maybe he had some passion, but he definitely had no talent. No talent in terms of how to make a film, how to structure a film, the ease of mistakes that could have been fixed. Like Tor Johnson, like him getting out of a damn grave. Like, it had a plot that barely makes a lick of sense. Prediction values, bottom of the basement barrel of that went down the fucking waterfall. So it is a bad film, it is a terrible film, but at the same time, I don't know, maybe because like 1950s films, just the whole, how they were shot, how they were filmed, how they sound, what they, of course, would not have because they weren't allowed to have in films back then, they still seem like such a world apart from films today. That's like a archaeology of a filmic sense, where you're watching like how it used to be back in the day, and still somewhat fascinating, even as bad as it is, compared to... It's sad that even this film probably has more... There are films done nowadays that you said, oh, God, Planet Nine's production seems fucking Avatar compared to some of these films nowadays. Like the wet ones. What's that? Exactly. Or some of these bottom of the barrel, shaky cam, even worse acting, worse... I have it on my letterboxd with some, like August Underground. Like some of those fucking films. Stuff that guy Cool Duder directed, like Treasure Chest of Horrors. Like some of that just so brain smashingly fucking awful. That's really ooze on my damn ears and my dick hole. This at least, at least there's a sense of history to it, and as bad as it is. And thank God it was short too. I mean, it deserved to be shorter. I think that definitely helped a lot too. So, for a historical sense and for curiosity sense, I'm glad I still saw this. So thank you to Al for the request. I do appreciate it. And there you go. Plan 9 from Outer Space. Is it the worst film I've ever seen? No. Is it a bad film? Yes. But again, the worst film I've ever seen? It's a horribly made movie. It may be the worst film of 1957. Maybe the worst film of the 50s. But sadly, there's a lot of films that took the kick from you. So, take that for what you will. Thanks for watching. Take care. You know, oh, what was that? Fiends. That movie Fiends. That's way worse. What was the nudie? That's way worse. As stupid as this plot was, I was still able to follow along more than nudie and Fiends and that one with Grandpa Munster was in it in the 80s. I forget what the fuck it was called. It was like a serious horror film. I can't remember what the fuck it was called. But the guy who played Grandpa Munster was in it. It came out in the 80s sometime. Can't remember what the fuck it was called. That's how good it was. Or Horror House on Highway 5. Or like Hell's Highway. Or Kingdom of Var. Like, some of these films I'm talking about, like, what the fuck is that? Exactly. You don't know what the fuck those are, but you may have heard from Planet of Outer Space. Because even Planet of Outer Space is better than those fucking films I mentioned. That's saying a lot. So, we'll see you guys later. Bye-bye.